So Wanheng Menayothin, aka Kayapan Munsui, the current WBC Minimumweight Champion, had a stay busy fight over in Thailand this afternoon. Had a 6 round stay busy fight, interestingly enough, versus Jaysever Abcede of the Philippines. And this kind of goes to what I was saying recently in the rant that I made that I know a lot of you saw, with regards to fighters from Thailand in particular, and just fighters. I mean, the Thai boxing scene really in particular, somewhat to a degree in the greater portion of Southeast Asia, but especially in Thailand, you'll get a lot of these fights where world champions will basically take on guys that are complete unknowns. Guys with relatively lean records, or guys either making their pro debut or relatively inexperienced in fights. They won't be championship level fights. This one, as some of the other ones on Wanheng Menayothin's record, was a above the weight non-title fight basically. It's basically a 108-pound fight versus a guy in Jaysever Abcede who has himself been a bit of a floater. He's fought at 105. He's fought at 112. 112 so to speak. He's only weighed as high as 110 officially. So he's not a huge guy, but one of these guys, 22 years old, 13-6 with 8 knockouts. That he might grow into some of the higher weight classes of the lower weights. Flyweight, super flyweight, and so on. But here against Wanheng Menayothin, I actually thought Abcede showed a pretty good amount of skills. In spite of the fact that he was completely overmatched against his 46-0, 17 knockout world champion level opponent. Wanheng Menayothin, of course, I've mentioned him on this channel a couple of times before. One of the best 105-pounders in the world, really. Although, considering his struggle in his last fight against Melvin Jerusalem, as well as some of the issues that he had with Saul Juarez, although I did think that he won the Juarez fight clearly, and that Juarez win was definitely a very big one. Juarez had beaten several pretty high quality fighters between 105 and 112 even. He's another guy that's been a bit of a floater, moving between the divisions wherever the money's right, basically. But here against Abcede, this is just a stay busy 6 rounder. The fighters over in Thailand, they like to be kept busy. The promotions and everything, they keep them extremely busy. They have fights very, very frequently over there. Every Wednesday and Thursday, damn near. There's going to be fights pretty much at all times. I mean, you'll probably notice if any of you have checked out the Thai TKO channel, of which a lot of these fights that I'm linking to you guys is on. They upload on a weekly basis. Sometimes a couple of times a week, with a number of different fights that have been televised, whether it's world champion level stuff, or just tune-up level stuff like this was, or some of these other prospects. You would have seen Sisakit Sarangbasai on that channel a couple of times, Nawapan Kaikana as well. But here for Wanheng, getting to the fight actually. Started off the first round pretty well, a little bit quicker than he tends to. He tends to be a bit of a slow starter, likes to use the first round as a feeling round. This being a 6 rounder, however, he definitely didn't mince too many words with regards to his overall style. Mince punches, I guess. He started off doing pretty well. Abcede is a southpaw, and Menayothin is a orthodox fighter. And so he was, starting to get off the right hand, looking for the right hand left hook combo, as is prone for a lot of skilled orthodox fighters to do when they're facing against southpaws. And it looked like he was getting into a pretty nice little rhythm at first in the first round, even though he wasn't completely set in it. He was, definitely still kind of filling Abcede out, but getting off to a bit of a faster start than he tends to. In the second round, actually, Jaysever Abcede seemed to kind of come to life a bit. He started throwing pretty quick punches in combination especially, and that seemed to throw Menayothin off a little bit. I think the hand speed of Abcede, the southpaw stance, the fact that he almost makes himself a really small target with regards to how much he angles himself off compared to Wanheng, who was a slight bit more square in comparison. he was, giving him a little bit of trouble just with the speed of his punches, because it's like he was giving him one look in the first round, and all of a sudden he completely changed the look that he was given to Menayothin. And so I thought Abcede actually won the round. I thought he landed a couple of good left crosses upstairs, a couple of good right hands as well, right hooks, that is. In the third round, however, Menayothin started to at least kind of get back into his rhythm. Both I thought the third and the second rounds were fairly close. I thought that Abcede edged the second one. I thought that Wanheng managed to edge the third one with regards to letting his right hand get off a little bit better, and especially to the body. He was able to make a bit of an impression. It seemed to momentarily stun Abcede to the body with one of those right hands, like around on the solar plexus area. Fourth round, it seemed like Wanheng was really getting into a rhythm a lot better, getting into a groove. Was able to start landing his jab, especially in the latter half of the fourth round. Started to ration off that hook a little bit. Not necessarily hitting especially cleanly or especially hard with it, but he was getting it off. When Jaysever Abcede was looking to, I think, really try and catch him and kind of goad Wanheng into overreaching, because Abcede did have a slight height and reach advantage over Wanheng, but Wanheng was not taking the bait. Abcede was kind of dropping his hands, kind of moving his head around, almost kind of taunting him, like a lot of people would call it styling on him if he had been winning the fight up until then. But once again, Wanheng was not taking the bait. He just kind of stayed in his rhythm, worked behind his jab, like a seasoned pro should, and he managed to win the fourth round and pretty much the fifth round in the same fashion. Overall, the fifth round, I thought Abcede especially was starting to wilt a little bit. It seemed like he was kind of running out of ideas, was throwing like one shot here and there at a time, occasionally landing, but nothing especially flush, and he was pretty much getting landed flushly on in comparison. The sixth round, the final round, Abcede seemed to kind of spring back to life. Started off pretty fast, looking to ration off a couple of combinations, see if he could maybe steal a draw or something against a current world champion, which would have been a big boon probably to his career. Being a young guy with a bunch of losses still on his record early on, guy that's been thrown to the wolves, so to speak. And he definitely gave it a go. But overall, Wanheng was just a little bit too sharp overall, and he was landing some pretty clean shots that would lead me to believe that if this had been more of a full distance fight, whether it was 10 rounds or 12 rounds or something like that, I think that Wanheng Menayothin probably would have stopped Jaysever Abcede in a couple of more rounds. For what it's worth, Jaysever Abcede has actually gone the 12-round distance. He actually fought against a fighter by the name of Panya Padabsi for the PABA. Was it for the PABA minimum weight title? I'm looking it up. My bad. It was the WBO Oriental minimum weight title. So a regional belt basically for the WBO. That the man that I just mentioned, Panya Padabsi, is actually the PABA minimum weight title holder. I believe that is a WBA minor belt, kind of similar to the WBO version. But in any case, here against Wanheng, it was only the 6th-round distance. 2-0 fight for Wanheng. Lost one round of the 6. Not terrible, but again, something that I think could potentially be troublesome with regards to Wanheng being 46-0-0. I'd imagine just the numerical stature of that number and what it's come to mean in modern-day boxing may come to haunt Wanheng if he kind of steps back up towards the world level the same way that he did in his last couple of fights before this, with regards to Melvin Jerusalem and Saul Juarez. I think I've mentioned it a couple of times recently. I think that Jose Argumedo in particular, Jose Argumedo, the IBF strawweight champion, would give him a lot of problems. I think that's a very difficult fight for somebody like Wanheng, and maybe even a couple of the fighters that fought Wanheng's countryman, knockout CP Freshmont, somebody like a Baden Rojas, I think could potentially provide a lot of difficulty. Just the variedness of the punches and the angles at which he kind of attacks you from is something that I think Wanheng tends to have a good bit of trouble with. Guys that are very that kind of look to put you out of sorts and improvise a lot. Because Wanheng is a guy that's really more of like a technical craftsman in more of the classical sense. He does a pretty good job behind the 1-2, finishes up nicely with the hook. Plans his escape route pretty nicely as well. Tucks his chin really well behind his shoulder, and is able to evade punches, basically kind of getting back on the outside after he's managed to throw his punches. And I thought he showed a little bit of that here against Abcede. And Abcede gave him a fairly agile, athletic level of opposition for Wanheng to kind of show some more of his overall technical attributes. But that was pretty much it. Interesting little sidetrack here for Wanheng. Although, one that he's done fairly frequently in the past, both before he became a world champion as well as since he's become one. Went back in 2014, at the end of 2014. So it'll be intriguing at the very least to see exactly how he makes his march from here on out. I'd imagine maybe considering he's getting close to that 50-0 mark, maybe we might see him on some more of the English-speaking airwaves at some point in the future. Who knows? But it definitely would be interesting, I think, him versus somebody like Argumedo. And Argumedo is slightly tied in with Golden Boy Promotions at the very least, because he is managed by the Reynosos, Canelo's management family. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what comes of it. And Wanheng continues his winning ways. He's definitely done a solid job so far. And I'm definitely hoping to see him fight the other elite fighters at 105 pounds. Like I said, Jose Argumedo, the aforementioned knockout CP freshman, although I'm not sure if that would necessarily come off. It seems like fighters from Thailand tend not to really fight each other, especially often unless there's like seriously major stakes on the line, like something undisputed, for instance. WBO champ Katsunari Takayama, as well as a couple of these other guys that I previously mentioned. Panam Parapsi is solid out. Byron Ross, as I mentioned before. Simperway Konko, former Heki Butler opponent, a guy that actually gave Butler a pretty good bit of difficulty. And even like Ray Loreto, a guy that knocked out one of the best strawweights, I think, of recent times, in Kosanati Joyi. But that pretty much is it for my review of Wanheng Menayothin versus Jaysever at Abcede. And I think that will do it. So I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.